Bobby, we get Jonathan? Thank you. Hey, Jonathan. Mayor and Board Alderman, I'd like to introduce you to Jonathan Gaskins. He's a third-generation New Bern firefighter. Hired him in 2001 as a firefighter, and he has been promoted many times and is now holds the rank as our fire marshal. And Jonathan is going to lead us in prayer tonight.
Mayor, members of the board, let us pray. Kind and gracious Heavenly Father, I come to you this evening with a thankful heart. Lord, I thank you for the board members here tonight. I thank you for the leadership and the guidance that gives the city of New Bern. I thank you for the employees of the city that protect safety and service to our citizens. And I thank you for the citizens of our great city who have entrusted us with providing these services to them. Lord, I ask now that you be with the members of this board, lead them, guide them, direct them, and give them the knowledge and wisdom to make the decisions that will please you. All of these things I ask in the precious name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
If you would please stand as we pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Alderman Creel.
Here.
Alderman Royal. Here. Alderman Astor.
Here.
Mayor Odham.
Here.
Alderman Kinsey.
Here.
Alderman Best. Alderman Brinson.
Here.
Okay, before we move to item number 3, I believe the city manager has some comments he'd like to make.
Yes, sir. Mayor, I'd like to introduce our newest department head. Ernest, you can come up if you'd like. Ernest Simmons has been named as our new Director of Information Technology. He previously serves as Assistant Vice President for Information Technology and Services at Pitt Community College. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Electrical Engineering Technology from Milwaukee School of Engineering and a Master of Business Administration from Gardner-Webb University. He's also nationally certified as a Government Chief Information Officer. We're pleased to introduce Ernest. Ernest, if you'd like to say anything.
I just wanted to say I'm happy to be here. I'm looking forward to serving the citizens of New Bern. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, welcome.
Glad to have you. Okay, board, what's the pleasure of the board on item number 3 to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, agenda is approved. Next is request and petition of citizens. Madam Clerk. Thank you. The first one is Josh Forbes of 104 Sardis Lane.
Mayor, Board, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'd like to start off by introducing myself. My name is Josh Forbes, Fire Specialist with the City of New Bern Fire Rescue. I'm also a current resident of the city at 104 Sardis Lane. I've been employed with the City of New Bern for a little over 3.5 years now. I started my journey with New Bern on February 10th, 2020. Since starting my career, I've married my beautiful wife Cassidy and added on to our family with our first son James and our second son Liam. I was born here. New Bern is home. During my interview process with the city, I told the panel that New Bern is where I wanted to work. I applied 3 separate times. I told the interview board on the 3rd time I was going to keep applying until I got the job or they told me to stop. Then one day I received a phone call for an interview with Chief Boyd. Tears filled my eyes with joy and excitement. Then the day came for the interview. After an interview with Chief Boyd, I was made a conditional offer that I gratefully accepted. For 3 years, I've given blood, sweat, and tears to this department and to this city. I've missed birthdays, funerals, events, family gatherings, and even more sentimental than all of those, time at home. Time at home. What do I mean by time at home, you may ask? How much time do I get to spend with my wife, my 1-year-old son James, or my newborn Liam? That is a question for you to answer. I work 3 jobs. My wife works 1. Why do I work 3 jobs? Life. How many firemen in this room work more than one job? I challenge you to ask them for yourself. I promise you it will be more than half. Why do we work more than one job? Is it because we only work 9 to 11 days a month? Is it because we are greedy individuals or love the money? Or is it because we must provide a supplemental income for our family? I, for one, do it to provide a supplemental income for my family. I'm willing to go without so my wife and children have a roof over their head, a hot meal to eat, a cool place in the summer, and a warmth in winter. I was raised by a single mother, so hard work and dedication is nothing new to me. But what she also taught me is that nothing in this world is free. If you want something, then you must earn it and work hard for it. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this because I'm a worker, a provider, and a fighter for what is right. During my interview process, I was asked, what is integrity? Integrity is doing the right thing when no one is looking, watching, or seeking praise for doing the right thing. A few people know, but I believe I've been tried by fire during that statement. So here's what I'm asking. Be a person of integrity. Do what is right because no one is watching. Do what is right because you know it's the right thing to do. I know most people like numbers, so I'll put a few numbers for perspective. On a month we work 9 days is 216 hours a month. A month we work 10 days is 240 hours a month. And a month we work 11 days is 264 hours a month. A Monday through Friday employee working 40 hours a week for 4 weeks only works 160 hours a month. That's anywhere from 56 to 104 hours away from home, more than a 40-hour week employee. So yes, we only work 9 to 11 days a month, but 100% of the time we are away from home more than a 40-hour week employee. In closing, I would like to make things a little more personal. Nobody in this department has a death wish. Every one of us wants to make it home just like the next person, to see our children, our significant other, our friends, and our family. But we all know we have an obligation to do our job. That obligation comes with this job that very few others even understand. We arrive on the worst day of someone's life to provide a little bit of hope through life safety, incident stabilization, and property conservation. Life safety is our number one goal. Every one of us is willing to risk our life to save another, even if that means not making it home the next day. It's the ugly truth that no one wants to talk about. Every day I show up to work is another day I may not make it home to see my wife or my children. We can do everything in our power to prepare, but tomorrow isn't promised. All that we're asking for is a little extra help. That help allows us a little time at home, so we're not having to provide the supplemental income and to be able to watch our children grow up. I thank you for your time. Respectfully, Josh Forrest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Let me ask what was your name again, sir? What's your name again?
Josh Forbes.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Next up is Edwin Vargas of 119 Random Wood Lane.
Good evening, Mayor, Alderman, City Manager. I have 4 items, and I was not able to go this year to go through the budget process and do my normal presentation, but these are the 4 items that I'm interested in. Number 1, FEMA funds. 5 years ago, Hurricane Florence came to New Bern, North Carolina, and the city received funds. We're questioning what was those funds used and what was returned. Secondly, 2023-2024, the budget shows no line item for stormwater management. In 2019 to 2020, it was $752,400. Percentage at the time of city residents paid into this program was through their electric bill. Has this gone away? Where is the revenue collected for this program? Number 3, the reevaluation of property, the city will take in $4.7 million. The county will have a surplus from sales tax of $4 million. Will the city have a surplus on sales tax? And finally, I went through the budget and I noticed this item, which I put on number 4. The city pays $308,822 in legal fees for this department. Is this the going rate for the town of New Bern? How many lawyers, assistants cover this cost? If it's 2 people, that's $154,411. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Vargas. Next is Paul Fonville of 517 2nd Avenue. How you doing, sir?
As you know, my name is Paul Fonville, 72nd Avenue. And it's just been a tough year this year for me and my wife. We started in the hospital in January to get out of the hospital to find out that my power was cut off from my, it was a mission that we do. It was cut off because the contractor in that area had damaged it. And it took us about 2 months to even get the power back onto it, going back and forth with the city to get this done. And so I want you to know today, I'm not here for a handout. I'm not here for somebody to just give me something, but I am here for justice, for a moral right. Because it seems to be a problem with legal right, but it might be a moral right that I can appeal to you. And so my name is Paul, and my wife, my daughter wrote this out. So I just want to give you that back before I get to the actual issue on 2nd Avenue. Getting out of the hospital, first it started with my building. And it took 2 or 3 months for us to get power back to it. No fault of ours, but we waited patiently, kindly, and gently. And I thank God for the city clerk. I think that's who she is. She reached out to help us. That's the only way we got it done for my mission. And so on May the 10th, 2003, approximately 2 o'clock a.m. in the morning, this happened to us on my residence. The City of New Bern utility pole fell. With it ripped out of my power box, causing my wife and I to lose power. I immediately told the workers that my wife is on dialysis and strongly conveyed the seriousness of the situation, but there was no sense of urgency from the City of New Bern. I want you to know, I know you not matter to you, but I like to lost my wife on 2 occasions because of dialysis. And so it's very important to me to keep that current going. We've been married for 45 years, and when you love somebody, it's not easy. It's really not. So I'm not asking for a handout. I'm just asking you to do the right thing. Approximately 9 a.m. that morning, we contacted the City of New Bern. My daughter did, inform them of what had occurred regarding the utility pole. The first reaction was to absolve themselves by saying, not our fault because it was due to the storm. I had to correct them and remind them that the storm happened that afternoon. I was May the 9th. The city utility pole fell May the 10th. I also informed the City of New Bern that a pole fell due to severe rot, which likely occurred from years. She said neglect. I don't want to think it was neglect, but I worked for the city for over 20 years, and there's a lot of responsibility the city has to get things done. She hasn't worked for the city, and so I ain't gonna say it was neglect, but things changed. It was a very rotten pole, very rotten pole. It wasn't in my yard. The pole was outside beyond my yard. And it fell 2 o'clock in the morning, well after the storm. And when you looked at it, it was so rotten, it was just pitiful. I wish I brought the pictures, because I got the pictures in my phone, but I happened to lose that phone. Anyway, let me finish. All right, it was at this time that I was told that if it is determined that the pole rotted, I would be reimbursed the money spent to hire an electrician after we filed a claim. I guess I'm right, I must be out of time, I don't know.
Mr. Fonville, if you have a written statement, if you want to provide that to the clerk.
I can provide it, but here you go, man.
She can make copies. She can make copies and share it with the full board.
I just want you to know, I had to deal with that because my wife on dialysis, I can't respond about who's legally right or what's right. But it didn't happen because of the storm. The pole was so rotted that I could have pushed it down almost.
Yes, sir.
And it just fell 2 o'clock in the morning. My daughter woke me up and said, utility people outside. I'm just asking the city, if the pole was strong and the storm happened, I'm sure I would not be here today.
Yes, sir.
But
Ms.
it was a
Fonville,
rotten
I've-
pole that's not in my yard. It pulled my utility stuff down. I had to go ahead and respond to go ahead and get electricity there. I didn't even, I had to, first of all, because she on dialysis, I had to get a good generator so that she could do her dialysis. And we can't wait 2 weeks or 2 days of dialysis. I don't like lost my wife twice this year because of dialysis.
yes, sir.
And so I know you're busy, but I'm just asking you to conscience. Come on, you got a conscience. Come on, this is not right. I can see it actually that this pole was strong. But yes, the city, they replaced it. It was a rotten pole. It wasn't in my yard. It wasn't even near my yard. It was in the back of my house.
Mr. Fonville, I'm not trying to cut you off, sir, but we have a 4-minute rule. And
All
if
right,
you,
okay,
if you would
that's
just,
good. That's good. But
Sure,
I'm just
sure.
hoping that
I just want to explain to you though. I've spoken with your daughter a couple times. I know that the city manager and the attorney, as well as our public works and our insurance company, is involved. And what I would like to recommend is for number one, the clerk to share your written statement with the full board so they can understand exactly what's taking place. And then if the manager would send an email tomorrow to the full board and update them on where we are with the situation. But thank you for coming tonight, sir.
Oh, morally and consciously, because this is wrong. I can see it was the storm, but it happened well after the storm. Almost another day. It should have been taken care of.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, board, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Any questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Prill.
Alderman Prill,
Yes.
Alderman Royal. Yes. Alderman Astor.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Best. Yes. Alderman Brinson,
Yes.
Mayor Odham.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 9, conduct a public hearing on the system development fee evaluation and consider adopting a resolution approving the evaluation. I believe Jordan Hughes is going to make this presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. First item we have before you tonight is a public hearing for approval of the updated evaluation for our water and sewer system development fees. So if you'd like to entertain a motion to open the public hearing, you can hold the public hearing.
Any questions for Mr. Hughes before we open a public hearing? Okay, at this time we'll open a public hearing on the system development fee evaluation. If anyone from the public has anything they'd like to say, if you would just please come up to the podium.
Mayor, if there's no one coming forth for the public hearing, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Have a second to close the public hearing. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing is closed. Mr. Hughes.
Okay, now that the public hearing has closed, the resolution you have before you is to adopt the system development fee evaluation. Back in 2017, the North Carolina General Assembly passed some laws that made some uniform regulations to how municipalities and counties implement what used to be capital recovery fees, TAP fees. These are basically upfront fees paid for connecting to water and wastewater systems. After those laws were passed, everything across the state was then a system development fee, and there were rules on how those could be calculated and how they were applied. You have to go through a professional evaluation and analysis to determine what those fees are. The fees have to be based on a per unit allocation rate. That was done in 2018, and we adopted our first system development fees for water and wastewater. One of the conditions of the general statute, that evaluation, those fees have to be updated on a period of no more than 5 years. So we're due for an update this spring. We hired Rivers and Associates Incorporated to complete the evaluation, and now that is complete, we did a 45-day public hearing online to take comments. We received no comments. We've held the public hearing We received no comments. It'd be my recommendation that we adopt the revised evaluation that's been prepared by Rivers and Associates, Inc. Essentially, it's just updates of the numbers, the accounting data that goes into the formula. The methodology that was used in the original evaluation has all remained the same. The only other two items that were revisions were one of the allocation rates for residential homes went down a little bit, makes that cost a little cheaper for our actual newly constructed residential homes. And we removed a cap that we had of $50,000 for any one project. So those are really the only two revisions to the evaluation, other than the updated accounting and asset data that's used for calculating the rates. Be happy to answer any questions.
Board have questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the system development fee evaluation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Royal.
Alderman Royal,
Yes.
Alderman Astor,
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Best,
Yes.
Alderman Brinson,
Yes.
Alderman Creel,
Yes.
Mayor Odham.
Yes, motion carries. Jordan, you might as well stay there because I think you're going to be here for a while. Consider adopting an ordinance to restate the schedule of system development and connection fees applicable to water and sewer customers for the City of New Bern.
Yes, sir. Basically, as a follow-up to the last agenda item, now that we have adopted the evaluation, the revision to the evaluation, we take those updated rates and look at changes to our ordinance that actually outlines what our system development fees are and our connection fees. So the changes in the ordinance you see for the system development fees are simply the revisions that were in the updated analysis that we just approved. And the changes in connection fees are basically just the increase in material costs that we have for making those various connections. Our last adoption of the connection fees was along with the system development fees in 2018. So those rates have remained flat for the last 5 years, and we've seen a substantial increase in the cost of materials that we utilize to make those water and wastewater connections, specifically in the last couple of years.
Does the board have questions?
So on both of these, real quick, these are mainly applicable, almost entirely applicable to new construction. Our system development and our connection fees are the cost of a brand-new home coming on to the city's water and wastewater system. So you end up actually a little cheaper with the system development fees. You end up about $60 cheaper with the system development fees than the old rates for a typical 3-bedroom home in New Bern. You end up a little bit more expensive with the connection fees. All in all, depending on the size of the house, the total increase for a brand-new home in New Bern is somewhere between $80 and $100.
So, Jordan, that's just only for a brand-new home?
Yes, sir. Brand-new home, or a home, which is very rare, a home that is existing that still needs to hook to water wastewater service, but there are very few of those around.
So, say if you were moved to a new home, would you still have to pay another fee?
No, sir. These are one-time upfront fees paid most of the time by the developer or the builder as they're constructing the home. They've got to be paid prior to the building permits being issued. So these are always paid by either the developer or the builder on the front end of the project. It doesn't get reassessed every time somebody moves in or out. It's just to recapture that initial cost.
Any more questions? What's the pleasure of the board for item number 10?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt an ordinance to restate the schedule of system development and connection fees applicable to water and sewer customers of the City of New Bern.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Astor.
Alderman Astor.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Best,
Yes.
Alderman Brinson,
Yes.
Alderman Creel,
Yes.
Alderman Royal,
Yes.
Mayor Odham.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 11, consider adopting an ordinance to restate the schedule of water rates applicable to customers of the City of New Bern. Mr. Hughes.
Yes, sir, Mayor. The next two items kind of go hand in hand. I'll try to address them together the best I can, save a little time if we can. From about 2010 to 2015, we made a lot of organizational restructure within the Water Resource Division aimed at increasing the operational efficiency of those divisions. As a result, we were able to realize some cost savings that we passed along to our customer base in 2015 by way of water and sewer rate reduction. We reduced the sewer rate by 6%, the water rate by 6% and the sewer rate by 4.5%. And for the last 6 or 7 years, we've done a pretty good job of keeping up with increasing costs with increased growth. Our customer base has grown about 2.5% to 3% a year. Our cost has grown about 2.5% to 3% a year. We've been able to keep those rates flat. All that really changed about 2021, as much like everything else, groceries, regular consumer goods, the price of everything went through the roof. That is, the water and wastewater operations are not exempt from that or not immune to that. And in most cases, there's a lot of items. You go through brass fittings, you go pipe, treatment chemicals, equipment. Those costs have gone up exponentially higher than what you would see for regular consumer goods into the CPI. The CPI increase has been in the neighborhood of, let's say 10% over the last couple of years. We've seen a lot of products we use day in and day out in the water wastewater go up 100, 150, 200% in that same time frame. So essentially, we built a gap between the revenue we're bringing in and the cost of doing business, the money we need to operate. So what we're going to have to do this year is look at some minor rate increases to close that gap and have enough operational revenue to meet the needs of the water and wastewater divisions. So what I've got in the next two items, item number 11 is a resolution to restate the schedule of water rates. And what this is a single flat rate charge for all water customers. It's additional $1.67 on the readiness to serve charge for every customer. So whether this is a very large customer or a very small customer, so this is Bosch or a single family home, it's the same $1.67. That helps with some of the increased metering costs we've got in our water division. It helps offset that expense. On the wastewater, we evaluated everything and came up with a need of a 4.5% increase across the board for all of our sewer rates. And that's what you see in item number 12 and restating the schedule of sewer rates for water and sewer, for the sewer customers.
Does the board have questions?
Mr. Hughes, is there an average water usage?
Yes, ma'am. For our average customer in the city limits of New Bern, you're looking at about $3.37 a month is your total increase, is what that's going to be.
And that's per how many gallons?
That's based on 4,000 gallons.
4,000.
And that's pretty much our average.
Okay.
Alderman Bass, you have a question?
No, she asked a question.
Okay.
But Jordan, wasn't it before the consumption was 3,000 gallons?
Many years ago, yes, ma'am. Many years ago, we had a kind of a flat fee that included the first, our base rate included the first 3,000 gallons. We restructured our rates in 2012 and did away with that. We have a lot of two-person households, one-person households, where they were actually using a lot less. We still do have a lot of folks that use a lot less than the 3,000 gallons. So they were essentially paying for a product they weren't getting back then. So now you pay for what you get, and with some of our newer AMI meter technology, you really pay per gallon for what you get. We have a per 1,000-gallon rate, but we can actually break that down to the gallon, so you're paying for exactly what you use.
Mr. Davis, if it's unanimous, can we combine 11 and 12?
Yes, sir.
And if there's no more questions, I'd like to make a motion
Sure.
to adopt an ordinance to restate the schedule of water rates applicable to customers of the City of New Bern, and to adopt an ordinance to restate the schedule of sewer rates applicable to customers of the City of New Bern.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on items number 11 and 12. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Kinsey.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Best,
Yes.
Alderman Brinson,
Yes.
Alderman Creel,
Yes.
Alderman Royal. Yes. Alderman Astor,
Yes.
Mayor Odham.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 13, consider adopting a resolution to approve amendments to the City of New Bern water and sewer design standards.
Thank you, Mayor. Back in 2007, the city put together a group of development stakeholders. These were engineers, the builders, both commercial, residential, and developers that work in New Bern routinely, and helped us form a set of water and sewer design standards. This is basically a document that outlines what we're looking for in newly constructed water and wastewater systems. Since that time, we've routinely updated this document. We have various revisions to construction drawings, the details in the document to be updated from time to time. Manufacturer data, we may specify a particular make or brand of a pipe or fitting or pump that no longer is produced, or the model number is changed. So we have some minor technical and grammatical revisions to make from time to time. Last time it was updated was in 2020. I think what you have in your packet is a red line showing our proposed changes, as well as the original document from 2020. I've passed that along to our stakeholder group. Those members are still intact and still in town. Their feedback has been incorporated into the revised document. So what you have before you is hopefully our updated 2023 water and sewer design standards. Be happy to answer any questions.
Board have questions? Not, I entertain a motion to approve item number 13.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution to approve amendments to the City of New Bern water and sewer design standards.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call starting with Alderman Best.
Alderman Best,
Yes.
Alderman Brinson,
Yes.
Alderman Creel,
Yes.
Alderman Royal,
Yes.
Alderman Astor,
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Mayor Odham.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Jordan. Item number 14 is to consider adopting a resolution approving the classification pay plan for fiscal year 23-24, and Ms. Hayes is going to make this presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. So annually, we come before you to request that you consider adopting the classification pay plan for the upcoming fiscal year. So you have before you tonight the proposed plan for fiscal year 23-24. And that proposed plan incorporates the proposed changes that were made in line with the budget. So as you can see, there are numerous position changes that we have. There are title changes. There are some positions that are being reclassified. There's one new position, a heavy equipment mechanic, that we're requesting to be added. And then there are, I think, 4 positions that we are requesting to be deleted from the classification pay plan. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those now.
Does the board have questions?
Sonia, I thought there was 2 positions, one for your office. Is that already?
Correct, yes, so
Okay.
that position is already on the
Just
pay
not
plan.
funded.
This was correct, and we have people in that actual classification. So the new position is a brand-new position as well.
Okay.
It's the pleasure of the board on item number 14.
Just one more question. So
Sure.
this, just for clarification, this incorporates the pay study to what we have in the 2024 budget?
Okay, so this actually has nothing to do
Has
with the pay
nothing to do
study,
with it.
so the minimums, the midpoints and the maximums are the same as they were last fiscal year. These are just new position titles,
Okay.
reclassified positions, deleted positions, so nothing to do with the pay study.
Okay.
Were these positions, are these new titles, were they were in the classification or the pay study plan?
No, they were not.
They were not.
Positions that were proposed during the budget meetings, and subsequently, these were the titles that we landed on. We felt that they were appropriate, but it had nothing to do with the pay study.
So why are they coming up now if they wasn't a part of that early on?
We did the pay study some months back, and so during the budget meeting, some of the departments proposed, hey, these position titles really would be more in line. So the pay study wasn't necessarily designed to say you need to change your titles, but more so where positions should be graded, if you will. So some of the department heads decided that they wanted new titles, they wanted positions to be reclassified because of the scope of the functions had changed. So the pay study would not have incorporated that.
On the last two, Director of Water Resources and the Director of Electric Utilities,
Alderman
Was it-
Astor, you should have a revised memo in your packet, so there would not be a change to the Director of Utilities.
Director, which one?
The Director of Utilities, there would not
Okay.
be a change to that position. We removed that and we provided you with the revised memo.
So nothing really changed other than the title on that position?
The title for that particular position did not change. We decided to leave that position as it was, so that did not change. So you should have gotten a revised memo, I think, in your packet. So that position was removed. Originally, it was in the memo, but we removed it.
Just a job classification change?
No
No?
job classification change on that. That position is going to stay just as it has been this current fiscal year.
So that's a department head move?
Okay. No, there's no position that is moving. It was a proposed title change, but we decided to not propose that title change.
My question is it a department head?
Yes, and the answer is yes.
Okay. With that being said, normally when a department head situation comes up, it's brought before the board. I haven't heard anything about that until just now. So why is it that way then?
Okay, I'm going to defer to the manager on that.
So we did talk about this during the workshops as the budget was coming along, and then the position in question was Director of Water Resources is what we were referring to. As everyone knows, Jordan Hughes has been the city engineer. When we changed the residency requirements, that's when we started looking at actually creating that position of Water Resources Director. Jordan is basically filling that position. It's just making it official on this if the board chooses to do that.
I don't know how that got by me, but normally any time that we have that type of situation, it comes before the board. Can any of you guys refresh my memory, please?
It was discussed.
Okay. All right. I'm just curious. It's a lot of moving parts going on right now, and I'm trying to get an understanding the direction that we are going.
For clarity, did you say that these numbers are constant from last year's budget?
The numbers?
The information here, is it carryover from last year?
So the minimums, the midpoints, and the maximums did not change, but the only changes that we're proposing are the positions that are enumerated in the memo. So there are some position title changes, there are some reclassifications, so there are positions that are proposed to go from one grade to another grade. There's that one position that is proposed to be added, the heavy equipment mechanic position, so that is brand new. And then there are 4 position titles that we won't be using anymore if you approve this classification pay plan. So we're proposing that those positions be deleted. Yes, ma'am.
Any more questions?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution approving the classification pay plan for fiscal year 2023-24.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on item number 14. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Brinson.
Alderman Brinson,
Yes.
Alderman Creel,
Yes.
Alderman Royal,
Yes.
Alderman Astor,
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
No.
Alderman Best,
Yes.
Mayor Odham.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Item number 15, consider adopting an ordinance amending the schedule of fees and charges. Ms. Ostrom.
As part of the budget process, the board annually adopts an amended schedule of fees and charges. These fees and charges were discussed during the board work sessions. These fees identified in the schedule are included in the revenue projections for fiscal year 23-24 and will be effective July 1st, 2023. There's also a redline version of the schedule to help identify the changes.
Does the board have questions on item number 15?
I think that The fee that's in here that is most applicable to our citizens is the trash rate. So maybe if, George, if you can come up and explain that change, please, for our citizens.
Good evening, Board, Mayor. Yes, the reflection of the increased rates are, as we discussed in the work session, are reflective of the contractual obligations we have with GFL, where they have capped rates due to inflationary pressures on them as well. So it follows that increase that's required in the contract. And then now that we have clarity that the tipping fees are going up $2 a ton, it reflects that, and then operational cost of the utility.
And that starts July the 1st?
Yes.
And so just to be clear, at least what I'm looking at, the residential rate for trash is $14.93 right now, and that will go up to $19 monthly.
Correct.
Okay.
And all we're doing is just passing that on, correct? This is the reason for this increase
Pass-through costs, correct.
is because of the GFL raising rates, or either the landfill raising tipping fee?
Both, and then inflationary operating costs that utility's been under the past year.
I just bring it up to be transparent.
Yes.
George, the last time we bid this, it was before you were in the role you're in now, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think, did we get anybody else to bid it other than GFL?
I don't recall another bidder on that.
I don't think we did either.
They didn't. That was the only
Just one, right? Okay. Any more questions?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt an ordinance amending the schedule of fees and charges.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Prill.
Alderman Prill,
Yes.
Alderman Royal,
Yes.
Alderman Astor,
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Best,
Yes.
Alderman Brinson,
Yes.
Mayor Odham.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 16, consider adopting the budget ordinance for FY 23-24. Mr. Hughes.
Mayor, on May 9th, we presented a proposed budget to the governing board. On May 23rd, a public hearing was held. At that time, we had 5 individuals to voice comments on that proposed budget. Subsequently, a majority of the board provided direction to make cuts to the budget and requested that the budget be balanced at the proposed new revenue neutral rate of 37.34 cents. We have provided that information to you as I've had conversations with you over the last week. We also did provide options to the board to consider if the board wanted to look at any type of COLA for this coming year. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Board have questions?
I do.
Mr. Kinsey.
I feel that tonight the budget should not be passed tonight. That the COLA that we have come up with, how in the world can a person expect to live and make it on 3% when they have their 401k in their retirement, and plus they're already behind? So when are they going to catch up? You know, you want to call them your heroes, your buddy, your friend, and all this here, but you're not looking at what they do. We don't make what they make, and they don't make what we make. We need to consider to go ahead tonight, make the right decision, and give them what they do. That's just where I'm at, and this is what I see. These guys have families. When a storm comes, we expect for them to be out there working to get the job done, and that's what they're doing. And we, as the manager and the board, the decisions and the buck stops here. And this is where we need to make the decision. And I want to see the manager play his role to fight for you guys just like I am. So I want to see a 4% increase for them. I want to see the COLA and the raise. That is my vote for tonight. And if you feel that these are the people that support and take care of this city, we need to give them what they're due. They have families. Some guys have 4 and 5 kids. Some of them don't even go to the doctor because they have to meet a certain number to be able to pay for it. We don't know what it costs them, but we know that we're not doing them right. We are the lowest ones that's paying out monies to these people that works hard. I mean, you know, I just don't get it. I mean, I truly don't understand why we cannot bring the rate up to bring the standards up. Because it's other employers that's looking at these same talented people that's willing to take them away from the city of New Bern. That is my speech.
Alderman Kinsey, so for clarification, we've got an email that we got sent today by the finance director. Are you advocating that this start on July the 1st? With
Yes,
the new rate?
sir. Yes, sir. That's when the budget starts.
So, Ms. Ostrom, could you give us we have the dollar amount for 3%. Do you have that amount for 4%?
Let me say this. If we could put in a $4 million elevator that doesn't work the city, we only have, 17 meetings a year? How many meetings do we have a year? 17 and 18. How many?
23.
Okay, 23. Okay, good. I was just checking to make sure that everybody's on with me.
Yeah, I think
How many
Jordan.
people we have to come up on the elevator versus how many employees we got that we need to pay money? First it was what? 2 million. Then it jumped up to 4 million. Okay? But these employees don't even get paid nowhere near that.
I think Jordan said it correctly when he made the comment, talking about we've got to raise our rates because everything's gone up. You know, the employees are seeing that same thing. I mean, the groceries are gone. I mean, who would ever thought that you'd pay $6, $7 for a dozen eggs?
But they bought them.
Yeah.
They drive their car, the gas went
I
up, they
agree.
pay for that.
I think we ought to look at implementing the COLA as well as the merit increase, and I think we should vote on it tonight and get it behind us so we can get the budget approved.
Absolutely.
Alderman Astor, are you in favor of 3% or 4%?
Well, I've never heard anything about 4%, but I think the whole time we talked about 3.
That's a
COLA.
low ball. That's low balling them, man. If you go back and look at the 401k and the retirement, if you give them 3, what is the number? Do the math on it.
Well, we're already giving them. I don't understand your theory there.
You don't make what they make. That's why you don't understand my theory. You know, if you're making $30,000 and you get a 3%, hello, how much are you going to take home out of that?
Well, I'm all in favor of paying our employees. They're the ones that are out there when, I've said it before, I'll say it again, they're the ones out there while we're home in bed, fixing our electric utilities, fighting fire during 110-mile-an-hour winds, patrolling the streets, keeping us safe when the city's most vulnerable. And I'm concerned that if we do not do this, then we're going to be in the same position that we were before we had the salary survey. We're just starting off the year a step behind.
And behind. I had one of the guys, I'm not going to embarrass him. There's 2 of them. I'm not going to embarrass them. They are cutting tree limbs off of utility poles, and they have actually a tree on their house at their home. But we call them our heroes, but we're not willing to sacrifice to pay them. And I'm holding the manager and the board accountable.
Ms. Ostrom,
We're the one that makes the decision. Do what is right for these guys.
Ms. Ostrom, do you have the number for 4%?
So, for the grand total for 4% increase, it would be $1,876,544. I can't hear her. What was presented to you?
Can you keep your mic on?
I'm sorry. Thank you. For 4%, it's about $1,876,555. increase from what was presented to you today.
Okay.
And don't forget the elevator, while you thinking.
And what would that equate to, and this is a work session topic, but we're here tonight to approve the budget, so we got to talk about it. So what would that equate to in either pulling from fund balance or either increasing the tax rate?
We would have to, you'd have to give me a second. But
Sure. If you want to work on that,
Yeah.
board, any other board members have?
Yes, I have something. On the
Alderman
fund balance.
Kinsey?
Yes, sir.
If you would, does anybody else have any comments? Okay, I think everybody does, so let's give everybody an opportunity to speak,
Okay.
and then we'll circle back, make sure everybody's got
Very
a fair
good,
fair
very
time.
good. Let me drink some water.
Alderman Best?
So, Alderman Astor, you were saying 3%. So you're just saying, wanting to approve the COLA tonight? The COLA, or are you including the 2% merit as well? I just want to understand of what.
Well, I think we should do both,
Okay,
personally.
all right. Okay. And then Alderman Kinsey, you're wanting 4% plus the 2% merit?
Both. I used to work out there with these guys when they have storms while everybody else is at home, so I know the deal. I'm okay.
You can.
Did you say that this is, the 4% is an increase of 1876,555? Is that what you said, an increase over the 3%?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were talking to me.
Did you say that 1,876,555 is an increase over the 3%?
That's an increase over what's been presented to you with just the salary study implementation.
Is that
So
3%?
nothing. It's 4% on top of just their second phase of the salary study.
Alderman Royal, I think I'm trying to answer. So the 1.8 million that she's saying, what's been presented tonight for us to approve has the only salary increase is the second half of the salary study.
Right.
There's no 3% in that number. So if we did the 4% that Alderman Kinsey's advocating for, that would cost 1.8 million. Is that
correct?
Okay, and then you asked about where the money's gonna come from. We can go to fund balance, right? How much money do we have in fund balance?
How much are you taking from fund balance? what
How
you're
much is
asking?
there and how much will be taken from there? Correct.
So that's what I'm working on.
Thank you.
She's going to take her a minute to figure that one out. Alderman Royal, did you have any other questions?
Yes, so we're saying, Alderman Kinsey again, to restate 4% COLA and 3% merit. Is that what you said?
No, ma'am, I can count better than that.
I'm
It's-
sorry,
it's
2%
4 and
merit,
4.
2%.
4 and 4.
4 and 4?
4 and 4.
Why not? The elevator cost $4 million. The elevator cost $4 million. It started out at 2. And
Okay.
then we did this courtroom, and then we didn't, I'm glad you mentioned that. You're helping me out better. We had a leak back here after we spent all that money, and then we come back and, what you call that stuff when you do on the concrete? Repoint it up after we spent all that money. And you gonna tell me that the employees is not worth that? Come on, man, give me a break.
So you're saying the salary increase, 4% COLA and 2% merit?
Yes, because if you look at the way that it's designed, it's only designed for some department heads to get a raise and some department heads not to get a raise. Let's say if you have a lazy guy out of 5 guys, you got 3 that wants to work and 2 that wants to work. They don't get a raise. They don't get anything, but they do work. They come to work every day. But it's not for me to say, but I was just using that as an example. Everybody needs to get a raise across the board.
Okay.
And it's up for their supervisor to check to see who's working and who's not working.
So Alderman McKenzie, let's lock in your answer here.
Okay.
So, because we don't want to change anymore. 4% COLA and a 2% merit.
No, 4%.
4% COLA and a 4% merit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is everybody clear on Alderman Kinsey's proposal?
Well, this version of it.
Correct. Where we are right now, anyway.
It's gone from 4 to 4 and 2 to 4 and 4. So if that's the end of it, then I understand that.
Okay. We have not heard from Alderman Pruitt or Alderman Brinson yet.
Mayor, I'll jump in. I've made it, very clear what my position is. The revenue neutral tax rate, I think, is a significant mistake if that's ultimately what gets approved. Revenue neutral, as Mayor, as you pointed out, does not include a COLA, nor does it include merit. So I don't see where that is moving us forward in any way. In fact, it's actually putting us well behind, and that is only going to exacerbate what we have to do a year from now. My recommendation has always been that we look at taking an incremental approach to our tax rate. We've heard from all the department heads, from the city manager, that we have costs that have been increasing over the last year or two. If we don't try to keep pace with those increasing costs, we're falling behind. And that means that next year, the tax rate increase is going to have to be even larger because we're going to be playing catch-up. So my position is, and it always has been and will continue to be, that we look at an incremental tax rate increase. The city manager's original recommendation, and Foster, correct me if I'm wrong, because the numbers have been a lot of numbers have been bounced around. You were at like 43 cents, I believe.
That's
43
correct.
And,
That's
and
correct.
change.
Yes.
You made a statement that at our last meeting, a majority of the board gave you directions to go to revenue neutral. But actually, 3 members of the board gave you that direction. I did not. I talked about an incremental increase. And the other 3 members of the board did not say anything. So there was not a majority to go to revenue neutral. What I'm hearing, at least tonight, preliminarily, is that there seems to be a desire to put a COLA in place and possibly a merit increase as well. In order to do that with a revenue-neutral tax rate, we've got 2 choices, if I'm not mistaken. The money that we need to provide for a COLA and possibly a merit is either going to have to come out of fund balance, or you're going to be going back into the budget to make additional cuts. I don't think there's any other option, is there?
You're correct.
Relying on fund balance to pay for operating expenses is poor planning, and it's bad policy. If you look at each of us in our own private households, whether you have a budget plan in place or you just kind of manage to get by month to month, the last thing you want to be doing is borrowing money from a savings account, from an emergency fund, from children's education fund to pay for daily operating expenses. We're no different. It's just bad policy to be looking at that fund balance as a piggy bank to cover these increasing operating expenses, as opposed to biting the bullet, increasing our tax rate to some level to help cover these costs. So my position would be to look at increasing the tax rate. Where I'm going is probably $0.015 above the revenue neutral rate. I think that gets it up to like 3.88 something, if I'm not mistaken. I'd be comfortable at that rate. It doesn't solve all the problems, but it gives us a little bit more flexibility so that we're not pulling as much or any funds from the fund balance, nor are we putting the burden on the city manager to have to go back into the operating budgets to make further cuts.
Alderman Prill, I hear 1.5 cent above revenue neutral. Where are you on the COLA and the merit?
I had no problem going with a 3% COLA effective July 1 and the 2% merit.
Okay. Alderman Britson.
Kim, please clarify something for me. The merit, the 2% merit would be what, almost $400,000? I couldn't. I'm sorry. The merit,
It's more than that. 2%.
the 2% merit.
For all funds or just general funds?
For all, since the 2% merit, because I thought it was 396,000, but that was based on,
So for 2%, it was going to be 475,000 for general fund.
Got your attorney mic on again,
Sorry.
please.
For 2%, it was 485,000 for general fund and 255,000 for enterprise funds.
255?
255,000 for enterprise funds, yes.
Okay. But, so we're just basically looking at general fund, because enterprise supports itself. So general fund, that 2% would be 485,000, okay. Thank you.
And my computer froze up, so I'm a little delayed on calculating this for you.
No problem.
Alderman Britson.
Well, what I am concerned about, if going above revenue neutral, essentially is our citizens. And I haven't heard anyone talk about them yet. And I'll give you an example. I had a constituent of mine from College Park call me just about in tears when she received her revaluation. And to give you an idea, her duplex was $58,000 originally. Her revaluation went up to $101,000, almost double. She's a widow. She's in her late 70s. She's on a fixed income. And she's saying, there is no way I can pay those taxes. You know, we were talking about 48 cents. That was the original. And I told her that we were going to bring that down, and I was committed to revenue neutral. And that seemed to satisfy her. And as we were talking about this budget, I went back and took a look. And essentially, at $58,000.48 for the tax rate, she was paying $378, or actually $280 a year taxes, just the city taxes, not talking about county taxes. And then at a revenue neutral tax rate, her tax rate is going to go up $378. That's $99 a year. Now, you know, I can afford that, but this lady can't. And we have now raised her water rate $20 a year, her trash rate $50 a year, and her, actually that was a water meter was $20, but her water consumption $40. We've now raised her annual expenses $210 at revenue neutral per year, just by trying to keep everything level here in the city. So my point is, with revaluation, those that had houses or duplexes or condos that were under $150,000 are the ones that are the most hit by the revaluation. Most of those homes double. And so I am absolutely committed to revenue neutral, because I do not want to raise taxes right now to the point where we are going to push our most vulnerable citizens out of the city of New Bern. That is my biggest concern. I have areas around the high school, I have College Park, I have Acadia Village, I have Trent Creek, that all of that applies to. And you may say, well, you know, there are renters. Well, landlords pass all that right on to the renters, and they're going to push those people out as well. So yes, I would love to pay our employees more, but I'm not going to do it, me personally, I'm not going to do it by raising taxes. So I am committed to a revenue neutral tax rate, although we did talk about the 38 cents at one point, which I'm okay with. So if there's any COLA or merit to be discussed, while it may be bad policy, Alderman Prill, I don't intend to do it forever. I don't intend to do it for 2 years. But I think for this year, it being a revaluation year, that we take COLA and merit out of fund balance. I believe I saw $568,000 out of fund balance, something like that, the Zoom meeting you had with me. That we take that out of fund balance to pay for the COLA, and then look at raising taxes next year once all of our citizens have figured out what this revaluation means to them. Because I gave you her city taxes, but even if the county goes to revenue neutral, she's still paying twice as more, at least 35% more taxes for the county as well. So I'm voting for revenue neutral, and if we're doing COLA and we're doing merit, I want it out of fund balance.
Alderman Brinson, do you want COLA and merit to start July 1 or January 1?
I don't mind it starting July 1, but if it is more palatable for those to take it out of fund balance, I don't mind moving that to January.
Let me ask you, would you agree to do the COLA July 1, and maybe start the merit increase later into the year?
That's fine with me too.
I mean, we've had to do that in the past.
That's fine with me too. But my point is revenue neutral for our most vulnerable citizens in order for them to afford to stay in the city of New Bern and figure out their budgeting, so that next year when we have this conversation, we perhaps raise taxes when we hear from them that they can do that. We can.
Alderman Best.
As I stated at our May 23rd board meeting, I too want to go with the revenue neutral, because I just see it as an increase on our citizens tax-wise. And by no means did I implement in any form, shape, or fashion not to give our employees a raise. At that particular time, I said, let's wait to see what our revenues was going to be like once our revenues come in, and then we give our employees a 3% COLA and a 2% merit. That's what I stated. And we're raising the taxes somewhat. I think it's 0.5%, going up to 38, not even to 0.38 cents per 100, which is not a tremendous amount, but it won't affect the citizens as if we go raise them 4 cents. I don't have a problem with and employees understand we're implementing the second phase of the salary study, which is effective July 1. So that was one of the reasons why I said, well, let's wait to see what the revenue is going to be like, and then implement the 3% COLA and the 2% merit. I don't have a problem with that. I would never deny you employees that. From day one, I sit up here upon this dais. I have always been for the employees, and for some of you to make statements like you made, it was very disheartening to know, because I have worked hard for all of you employees. As it's saying right now, I don't have a problem with the 3% COLA. I don't have a problem with the 2% merit. But I do not want to raise taxes in order for us to reach this goal of giving this amount of money to our employees. But I just look at it as some of you board members have said before, you know, we're coming upon hurricane season. We don't want to dip into our general fund. We want to have those funds available. So that's my motive there. We need those funds in general fund for such catastrophic storms that may come through here. So whatever this board feel like that they want to do, and we vote on it, I'm all for doing what is best for our employees, if it's the 3%, 2%. But I just have strong reservations on this, and I just think that we need to wait until January 1 to implement the 3%. And at that time, we might have a lot of revenues coming in. We may be able to give you 4% at that time. So, I mean, we just don't know. So, Mayor?
So Alderman Best, I'm trying to keep a tally here.
Yeah.
3% COLA, 2% merit. But you don't want to increase the tax rate, you want to stay at revenue neutral.
That is correct.
Okay, and when do you want to see the increases, the salary increases start?
Well,
January or July?
I'm really looking at the .38.
Okay, so not revenue neutral, but .38.
The .38 as the city manager has already figured into this budget.
It's not in there.
Well, I mean, you know.
He's calculated it,
He's
but it's not in the
calculated it
budget.
to be within, yeah.
Okay.
And, January, you said July 1 or January 1?
Correct.
January 1 for me.
Okay.
Hey, Barbara, can I ask you a question? Would you be opposed if we split it and did a COLA July 1 and start the merit process in January?
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that at all. I'm just looking, you know, I'm just looking down the road at, we got hurricane season coming upon us, and we've all talked about, you know, taking from the general fund. And I just think
Talking about fund balance.
What fund balance, general fund balance, whatever. Taking from that so we can implement this.
You're up.
Alderman Kinsey has something to say, but I'm trying to get a statement from everybody on what they would be comfortable with, and the only one I don't have right now is Alderman Royal. So if you're okay, I'm going to get her.
You can go ahead with him if you like.
You sure?
I'll
Okay.
wait.
Okay, Alderman Kinsey.
Well, we keep kicking the can down the road here. We got to stop that. Why don't we just stop giving the services that we give? I mean, you'd rather take away from people that work. Pay for your services. Pay for what you get. You pay for what you get, you know. Give them what they're due. Okay? The more you put it back, the longer it takes to catch up. That's what I'm hearing. I'm like, Alderman Prill, let's give the employees what they are due. Let's move on with this here.
May I implement?
Sure.
Not one time has I stood up here and said not give the employees what they're due. Not once have I said that. I said, let's wait to see what our revenues will be coming in. I just want to clear that up.
Alderman Royal.
Thank you so much. Again, I pretty much agree with Alderman Brinson when it comes to our most vulnerable population. I would not like to see the taxes increase. However, when it comes to our very, very valuable employees, I believe that a laborer is worthy of his hire. And so I definitely want to see our employees paid. Never could we pay you your worth, but we can start trying. And so again, I'd like to see that 3% COLA along with the salary increase and the 2% merit.
Okay, so If I interpret that correctly, you want to do the 3% COLA, 2% merit, revenue neutral tax rate, so whatever it would cost, you're advocating to pull that from the fund balance.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Effective July 1.
July 1, okay. We've heard from everybody. I'll give you my comments. Don't mind sharing them. I sent Foster an email a couple days ago and told you that you're always looking for direction, and sometimes it's challenging when you have a board with 7 people with 7 different personalities and styles and thoughts. I gave you mine. Mine was to round up the revenue neutral tax rate to 38 cents. I think that provides you close to additional $400,000 out of the general fund. And I would support, excuse me, I would support a 3% merit increase January 1, based off of performance.
Okay.
You said 3% merit,
Correct.
January 1?
Correct.
Mayor, I'd like to make,
And COLA?
No COLA.
There is another option the board might want to consider, is given that the merit is based on employee performance for the 2022-23 budget year, which we are coming to a close on, we could look at making a budget amendment before the end of June to appropriate the necessary funds for the merit piece of it out of this year's budget. That way you don't have to worry about it in next year's budget, whether it's a July 1 or a January 1 time frame.
So you're advocating doing a budget amendment now before the close of this month for the merit piece? Is that what I understood?
Well, for the merit component,
Okay.
And so
whatever that dollar amount.
And so just to clarify, when traditionally when we do merit, that's based on an evaluation. The evaluations always take place in January. That's for the previous calendar year, so it's not tied to the budget year, which is July through June.
so if we approve the COLA and the merit tonight, the merit's still not going to start until January, is that correct?
If you were to approve a merit effective, and I've heard a lot of things tonight, so
Yeah.
we're going to definitely have to do it, but if you were to approve a merit tonight effective July 1st, then that would be based off employees' evaluations as of January of 2023 for the 2022 calendar year. If you were to approve a merit increase in January of 2024, that would be based off the evaluations that the employees received for the current calendar year.
Okay. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Can I ask a question first?
Sure.
Just, Alderman Prill brought something up, but any budget amendment for this year, that just comes out of fund balance anyway, right?
That's correct.
So I don't see the difference.
What's the difference? Yeah. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we give our employees a 3% COLA and a 2% merit increase with the funds coming from fund balance with a 38-cent tax rate effective July 1.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Let me restate that, please?
I'm sorry.
Restate that, please?
State it again.
Yes.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that we give 3% merit, 3% COLA, 2% merit, with the funds being removed from fund balance, whatever amount is necessary for the city manager to balance the budget, at a 38-cent tax rate effective July 1. And that 38 cents tax rate really is just for simplicity, to get rid of all the, 100% of, or 100, what is the difference in 38 and what revenue neutral is?
It's basically $311,000 in additional revenue.
So, that's my motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I have a question before we go further. I want to defer back to what Mr. Hughes said. The merit time frame is what again?
So if, in terms of when the employees would,
Yes.
based on the evaluation period, so if a merit was issued July next month. That would be based off the employees' most recent evaluations, which they received in January of this year. Covers all of 2022. If you decided to do a merit increase in January of next year of 2024, since we're already at that evaluation period, the merit would be based on their most recent evaluation, which they would go through in January. So, for example, if the evaluations were completed by the end of January, when they got that merit increase, it would be retroactive to January 1 for
Foster,
2023.
what would be any different with this than any other budget year where a merit was included? Does it normally start on January or July?
On the merit, normally when we do a merit, it starts July.
Okay.
Yep. Unless we're given different direction by the board.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I think we can get a second if we turn that 2 into a 3.
A 3% merit?
Instead of a 2. That's what you said.
First of all,
right?
first
Was
of all,
it a 2?
It is 3% merit.
Okay, what was the 2 on?
Excuse me.
2%.
3% COLA, 2% merit.
Yeah, turn that merit into a 3, to that 2 into a 3.
I don't know, Johnny, I'd love to, but I'm concerned that this isn't going to pass.
Second.
so we have a second. Any further discussion?
Question.
Yes, sir.
So to clarify, the 3% COLA and 2% merit at a 38 rate, how much comes out of fund balance to balance the budget? Was it the 568 number I gave you, or is that, so that didn't include?
They're going to have to recalculate because we're looking at an additional 2% on that now. What you were, when we
Right,
all had
that
our
was just COLA.
conversation, that was based on 3% COLA of $559,000 from fund balance. I think Kim may have some updated numbers to share.
For the 3% and the 2%, that would, with the 38-cent tax rate, that would be approximately $1,359,827 from fund balance.
And Alderman Kinsey had asked previously, what was the balance in fund balance?
So the last report was 25 million, which puts us at about 34%, 34 or 35% fund balance.
So what are we worrying about money then?
Well, I'll just, let me interject, Alderman McKenzie. We were close, if you recall, you were on the board, we were close to 50% fund balance when Hurricane Florence came through, and we got down to 6 or 7% with just the storm.
I understand that, but we're talking about giving these people a raise. This is what I'm having.
Okay, Alderman Best?
So Kim,
Yes.
that's not the fund balance you gave us, the total, 25 million. Now, that's not including the FEMA funds, or is that included in the FEMA funds? Or we've not collected those FEMA funds yet?
We have not collected all of the FEMA funds yet. no.
And that's a
It's
what?
I think about 4.5, 5 million, roughly.
Okay.
So if we got that type of money, board, what's the problem?
I know you're ready to take a vote.
For the 3-3.
Well, the motion on the floor is 3 and 2, and that's what we've got a second for. So we're going to take a vote on a 3%
I want to make a
COLA.
motion that
No,
we
we
change.
already have a motion on the floor, so we got to vote on this one first. So just to be clear, Ms. Clerk, I have a 3% COLA, 2% merit, effective July 1, with a 38-cent tax rate, and whatever the delta is that's needed comes out of fund balance. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that the way you understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Royal.
Alderman Royal,
Yes.
Alderman Astor,
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
We're gonna come back and vote again, so, for the 3-3. Right? This is
If you vote on this and this passes, then you can make another motion if you want to add another percent onto it.
okay. It'll pass. Yes.
Alderman Best,
Yes.
Alderman Brinson,
Yes.
Alderman Royal, Creel.
Yes.
You're confused. Mayor Odham.
No. What's the count?
Motion passes 6-1.
Okay, Alderman Kinsey, if you'd like to make another motion to add on another percent of merit, you're certainly
Well,
welcome to do
I'd
so.
like to add 2% to the merit. 1% to it, which would make it 3.
Okay, so Alderman Kinsey is making a motion to add another percent of merit to what's been approved. Do we have a second?
So that's how much y'all love your employees.
Motion dies for lack of a second. Anything else on item
So
number
you see
16?
your love.
Anything else on item number 16? Okay, item number 17, consider adopting a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding. Consider adopting a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with the Marine Forces Special Operations Command. Chief Gallagher.
Get out of here so we can hear him.
Mayor, you will need to vote on the budget ordinance amendment with the change.
All right, Chief, you can sit tight. So, Board, we need to vote on the budget ordinance amendment with the changes from the previous motion that was approved.
Mayor, make a motion to adopt the budget ordinance for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Shouldn't that motion say as amended?
Yes.
You okay with that, Alderman Best?
Yes, as amended.
Alderman Astor, you good with that?
I'm absolutely wonderful with it.
Okay, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Astor.
Yes.
Alderman Astor.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Best.
Yes.
Alderman Brinson,
Yes.
Alderman Creel,
Yes.
Alderman Royal,
Yes.
Mayor Odham.
No. Okay, now item number 17. Chief, consider adopting a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with the Marine Forces Special Operations Command.
So, thank you, Mayor, Board. The city manager, Foster Hughes, and myself received a request from the Marine Corps Special Forces Operation to update a memo of understanding that the Board of Aldermen had approved approximately 3 years ago to allow their staff to engage in training operations in the city of New Bern. Over the course of my tenure here in New Bern, that command has notified me and the city manager that they would have training operations in New Bern. They've been consistent with that notice, and their training does not impact our community, and there's no safety concerns. Myself and the city manager, if I could speak for him, support the board renewing that memo of understanding.
Does the board have questions on item number 17?
Chief, could you just briefly provide an overview as to what that means in terms of their training in New Bern?
I cannot speak to their training. I can only tell you that they notify us that they will be training. They do notify us with a point of contact, and they do indicate that their personnel will not interact with any citizens. But I don't know what extent their training is.
Okay.
If there's no further discussion, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with the Marine Forces Special Operations Command.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on item number 17. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Kinsey.
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey,
Yes.
Alderman Best,
Yes.
Alderman Brinson,
Yes.
Alderman Creel,
Yes.
Alderman Royal,
Yes.
Alderman Astor. It's the MOU.
Yes.
Mayor Odham.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Chief. Item number 18, consider adopting a resolution authorizing the submission of an application for the 2023 Bureau of Justice Assistance Bulletproof Vest Grant. I'll ask you again.
This grant has been solicited by the City of New Bern for probably the past 20 years. They have assisted us in the purchase of our ballistic vests that our officers wear. For safety purposes, we're looking to purchase roughly 15 vests over the course of next year, and this is a 50-50 match. If we do not obtain or seek this grant, I would be asking the city manager to allow us to pay for all of it up front. I think this is a win-win for our agency and a win-win for the taxpayer.
Any questions?
So basically, we're just looking at a match, about $10,000.
Yes, ma'am.
If there's no questions, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
To adopt a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with the Marine, number 18, adopt a resolution authorizing the submission of an application for the 2023 Bureau of Justice Assistant Bulletproof Vest Grant.
Second.
Have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call, starting with Alderman Best.
Alderman Best,
Yes.
Alderman Brinson,
Yes.
Alderman Creel,
Yes.
Alderman Royal,
Yes.
Alderman Astor,
Yes.
Alderman Kinsey, Mayor Odham.
Yes, motion carries. Thanks, Chief. Appointments, the only one I'm showing tonight, Alderman Royal, you have one for the Board of Adjustment.
Still working on it.
Okay. Does anyone else have an appointment that I don't have the record of? I will just state, I believe everyone should have received an email from either the clerk or the manager about Ms. Theresa Lee resigning from the Redevelopment Commission. Her term was set to expire in August anyway, so she did not want to be reappointed. And she called and told me her logic behind resigning early was to allow the transition phase. But just for a point of clarification, I guess, Mr. Attorney, you can answer this for us. If the board makes an appointment for that seat before her term expired, we just don't want to come back the next month and have to make another appointment. Can we make an appointment at a future board meeting to say starting after that current term expires? So we're not filling a vacant term for a month and then...
Right, and let's not confuse the term of the chairmanship versus the term of the seat.
Correct, just the term of the seat.
Seat expires in August? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you were to make the appointment tonight, that would be for a 1-month term.
Correct.
Then you have to come back and reappoint.
Right.
And if you appoint in August, September, it would be for the remainder of that term.
So I would recommend having the clerk include this vacancy in our next agenda package for the month of our second meeting this month. That allows us a couple weeks to get some folks to express their interest, and then we don't have to make an appointment that particular night. We can delay it. We still have some time until they meet in August. Anybody have any issues with that? Okay. We will move on to attorney's report.
Nothing to report tonight, Mayor.
City manager's report.
A few things to update you on. This Thursday night at 5:30, we have a follow-up MSD meeting right here in the courtroom. So we will be revisiting the comments that we received during the last meeting and give the opportunity for those participants and anyone watching on Roku or Facebook or on City 3 TV an opportunity to do some interactive voting on some potential projects that once this governing board does establish a committee, that committee can have kind of hit the ground running with some potential projects to look at.
You know, the only thing that I wanted to add, I saw that, I think that's very intuitive and interactive to get that voting, but are we going to make sure that the people that are voting actually are MSD taxpayers, or are we just going to make this a free-for-all for anyone that wants to participate?
So if it is on like that, it's hard to tell who's going to do that. I think the majority of folks that did attend the live meeting, they are MSD taxpayers.
Okay. We just wouldn't want to keep that in mind, obviously,
yes.
when the results come in.
Yes.
Okay.
Next thing, we had a elevator meeting today with our contractor. It looks like they should be finished up as of right now by the end of July. If that is the case, and I think we're going to know more in about a week and a half, then the goal will be to plan the grand opening a little bit before our first meeting in August of the elevator. So stay tuned for that. Also want to let everyone know that the city employee lunch is scheduled for tomorrow at West New Bern Recreation Center. It's going to start about 11:15 and go to about 1:15, so I'd love to see everyone out there for that. And Charlie was kind enough to let me know the other day that the electric utilities received a safety award. And so that's for no lost workday cases for 2022. So we're proud of the electric utility department for getting that award. Charlie, thank you so much for reporting this.
Good job.
And that's all we have tonight, sir.
Okay, moving on to new business, Alderman Prill.
I have nothing, Mayor.
Alderman Royal.
Just my regular question. Again, I'm glad to see the Stanley White Recreation Center sign up coming soon. I'm glad to see the Tisdale House has been relocated. And I saw, I believe, in your report regarding the streets in Dufferfield, that is currently being resolved.
So we got an update from George Childs today. He may have sent it to all the governing board on an email. Several of the streets before and after the gravel over there are going to have to be basically milled down. Thank you. And so the milling company is going to be coming in right after the 4th of July to mill that. Then the paving company is going to come in and take care of that. So we've got a few more weeks before that project will be completed. But I believe Public Works is going to be spending time over there over the next few weeks until the pavers come to make sure that there are no holes or anything or any depressions in the current gravel. So anyone driving vehicles will at least try to have as smooth as ride as possible in that interim time.
Okay. Finally, I want to make mention of Mr. I believe he's saying Paul Fonville on 2nd Avenue, that we do whatever we need to do to help him, to assist him and his family. And I know we said we was going to send out an email to make all of us aware of his situation, but definitely, let's move on that.
Is that all?
That's it.
Alderman Astor.
The only thing I have is I'd like to thank the New Bern Electric Department for finishing the mess that the state DOT made at the entrance to Burnham by relocating and installing some new lamp posts. Thank you, Charlie. They did a great job. That's all I have, sir.
Okay, Alderman Best.
Foster, I thought the email that I received that Public Works, that we're going to try to work with the pavers to see if they could get this paving started sooner. Is that what?
We'll let George go up.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and to follow up on what the city manager said, so we've got sections in Duffy Field that have still existing asphalt that are going to be needed to be milled off before we come in and resurface. Unfortunately, this contractor and the other bidders we had utilize the same milling subcontractor. So that's what's predicating the set time frame. Their tentative date right now, when I say tentative, their scheduled date is the week after July 4th. We have been told that they're going to look to see if they could get a day, because the only thing is going to take a day of milling in there to get it done. If they get a free day to get them down here, and then we're looking at some additional mobilization fees if we can accelerate them into the area. And I just have not received that information. But whatever, we're working to try to get them here as soon as possible.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you, sir. Chief Gallagher, I haven't heard anything or received any emails or anything about National Night Out, so I was wondering how is that going to be organized this year, and can you give me a little information on that? It's coming up soon. I mean, isn't it the first Tuesday in August?
Yes, we have, and let me verify the email string pertaining to our plans. Our plan is to implement National Night Out the same way we did last year. And part of that is to communicate with, like we did last year, with all the neighborhoods to determine of those neighborhoods how many wish to participate in what we can do to support any other neighborhood that wants to have their National Night Out event at their location.
Well, and the reason why I asked is because I know in the past, is there any way the Pleasant Hill area, they're wanting to have their National Night Out at the Pleasant Hill Park? So is there any way that we could get a sign so that we can have it erected there in the park so that the citizens can see the time, the date, and everything there for that particular location?
Yes, when we purchase those signs, we have to purchase them in groups of 5.
Okay.
So we certainly can purchase those. We do have the funding to accommodate that. The one thing I will make notice is most, if not all of our resources are going to be here downtown, but we will have personnel that can support a National Night Out event anywhere. The important piece to know about National Night Out is it's a community centric event, so any community can have one. They don't need my permission, and any community that will have one, we will certainly do what we can to have some representation there to support that community's initiative.
Okay. Well, that's the reason why I brought it to your attention, because it was for the sign, purposely for the sign. Okay. That was it. Thank you, sir. And I think I had one other thing. Yes, it was, I was contacted by a member of the African American Heritage Culture Center. They're wanting, Foster, they're wanting to, I don't know if they've contacted you, but I suggested, them contacting you as well. They're interested in, they're in the building there behind the Old Fireman's Museum, and they're wanting to stay in that building, so they didn't know if it was something where they could lease that building, or if they can rent that building, or, whatever they can do to possibly obtain that building, because they want to remain there.
So we've had some conversations about this over the last really 2 years, and the most recent proposal we got from them was approximately a year ago, and what they have requested is a no-cost lease long-term, or for the city to give the property to them. And so that's kind of where the conversation has stopped. We haven't had a majority that were interested in taking that up. So if you'd like to give direction regarding that, we're happy to address it again.
Well, I'm going to give you the individual's name, and to contact her, and then, this is something that we can bring back to the board.
Absolutely.
To make a decision, because, see, I didn't know if the board wants to sell this property, or if the city wanted to keep this property or sell this property. So I'll give you that information, and then that can come back to the board at a later time. And I had one other, okay, yes, I know we spoke a little on, Mr. Hughes, we spoke a little in this board somewhat about the FEMA funding for the BP station. And I know that we haven't discussed this a little bit more in detail, and I didn't know, how does this stand in the budget?
So the FEMA project there's nothing in the budget for that yet.
Okay.
So the board hasn't vetted anything. There has been conversation about using those funds for the amphitheater at Martin Marietta Park. Of course, we've got no direction on anything like that yet.
Okay.
You had a conversation with me the other day about using those funds for a fire station. So
Right.
that's where we're at.
Okay.
I've had some general conversations with our consultant, and that's where we are. No direction. We haven't done anything.
Okay. Well, I'll just mention to this board, I think I would like to see that funding is, $955,000, maybe $1 million, up to $1 million, to be allocated to start the process. I know we're already in the planning process for a fire station on the 43 West in New Bern. So I don't know how the board feels about that, but I think that would be a good utilization of that money, because we definitely need a fire station on the west end. We got all this building that's coming. We already receiving additional planning and zoning requests for builders to come in and build on the west end, so we're gonna need the fire station there. And I don't know, if the board, if there's any members that have any comments that they would like to.
But just a question. How soon should we submit a statement of work? You know, because we are going to, or change of work, or change of scope, change of scope.
With the change in scope of work, we're gonna have to have an idea of what the project is.
No, I understand,
And just like we did with the Stanley White Recreation Center project, we're gonna have to have some renderings and things like that, whatever FEMA would request, and there may be some other things that they would request of us. So we're gonna, once we get direction on how the board would like for us to go, we're gonna have to get some work on some planning.
But I guess the nature of my question, though, is FEMA being a bureaucracy, what is timely? What, you know, to submit a change of the scope of work?
Right now it's timely. You know, we literally spent almost 5 years dealing with this project, and just a few months ago, they have allocated those funds for us. And so, in 2 meetings, I think, in a workshop, and in 1 meeting, we've talked about the amphitheater, but that's all we've got.
But decision sooner rather than later.
That's correct.
You know, I think a couple meetings ago, I asked about the amphitheater, and we were going to get some pros and cons, and I was thinking that building something like that would create some funds for the city, would generate funds for the city. So when do you think we'll be able to have that report?
I think we could have something in a few weeks on that. We've been quite busy dealing with this budget.
Sure.
And as we talked at one of the previous meetings, we reached out to some of the other cities that currently have amphitheaters that contract their operations out to see exactly how they do it and what their contracts look like. And so we've received some of that information. The staff is vetting that. And so, yeah, I think we can have staff prepared to talk about that as well.
When you say a few weeks, can we move that to 2 weeks?
I think we can.
Okay, so if we can get that on our next agenda, maybe we just have the line item to talk about how to utilize the FEMA funding that has been allocated, or whatever the terminology is. Obligated. And then you can have some information about the amphitheater in there that we can review, and if you want to have some information on a fire station, we can have that to look at as well. And if there's any other projects that the board thinks we should be considering to use that funding for, because ultimately we need to make a decision. I'll just say that it's been a tough meeting tonight, but if you take $1 million of the FEMA money and build a fire station, I'm going to guess that a fire station is probably going to cost $5 to $10 million.
We're talking about a substation or what? I'm not sure what you're talking about building. But you're probably in the range, $5 million.
And then about $1 million operating cost. So based off of our new 38-cent tax revenue rate that we approved tonight, that would be about, I'm guessing, 3 to 4 cent on the tax rate that we would have to obviously cover in future budgets. Now, we could start building the fire station, start the process tonight, and it probably wouldn't be built for another year, so it's not going to be in the next budget cycle. But as we keep moving forward, we continue to add, eventually it's going to catch up with us. And I think what Alderman Creel was bringing up tonight is that's somewhat what happened this year. And it's for our 3 new members, welcome. You know now how tough it is to do this and make these decisions, and as you can tell, you don't make everybody happy, but you always try to do what's best. So that would be my suggestion. If you're amenable to that, have both of those projects on the agenda so we can have some discussion about it in our next board meeting. Everybody
So
good with that?
what is the time, well, I guess we'll discuss it at that point. I was just wanting to know, what was the time frame for spending those FEMA funds for that?
For the change in scope of work?
Yes.
I'll have to talk with the consultant. I don't think we have a time frame, because if they put us through another process, the time kind of stops.
And if it means, like you said, it'll take a year and a half or whatever, who knows, it may take 2, and we have to raise the taxes at that point, some sense, to support a fire department on the west end of New Bern, which our citizens need. I don't have a problem with raising the taxes, some sense. And I don't think the citizens that live out there on the west end would have a problem with raising the taxes a couple cents to support their, to support a fire department.
Just keep in mind, it's going to be all the citizens throughout the city that's going to be paying for
I understand that, but I'm just speaking on behalf of the west end right now, because we all know that there's a need for a fire station out there. So that's all I had, sir.
Thank
Let
you.
me add one more thing, Mayor. I wanted to make mention that Father Tully from St. Paul Catholic Church will be moving from the area to the Holly Springs area near Raleigh. Father Tully has been in our city for the last 9 years. He's been a staple in the community. He's done some great things. He was very, very instrumental in working with Badge Faith and Community Fund Day, among countless projects. Those of you who would like to say farewell, there's an event this Sunday at 3 p.m. in the Family Life Center at St. Paul Catholic Church. Thank you. The mayor will be there.
Unfortunately, I will not, and I've let them know that I received the email, I think it was almost by accident yesterday, but I have a previous obligation on Sunday afternoon.
I understand.
Pastor, would you please email at least me a list of the department heads and their cell phone numbers? Some of them I'm missing, don't have, and I'd like to get an updated list.
Yes, sir, I can send it out to the entire board.
Thank you.
Alderman Brinson.
All right, thank you. Would like to thank George Childs and Public Works and Avery with the stormwater section for the work you're doing in Kings Row and the drainage. Thank you very much. They are very pleased with the progress made there. And then on May 31st, I had the opportunity to be at Cherry Point for most of the day. The Naval Health Clinic changed command. And then that afternoon, I witnessed the very first F-35 to arrive at Cherry Point. That is an exciting time. What that means to the city is over the next 5 years, we're going to get 6 more squadrons there of F-35s, which means 3,000 more Marines there. So Cherry Point has bottomed out with their transition. They've reached the bottom of the boots on the ground numbers that they have there, so they're going to increase over the next 5 years. Then on June 8th, I had a great town hall. My thanks to the mayor, the manager, and the city manager for attending, or the assistant city manager. We had over 20 folks show up at Bites on a Board and had a great event, great discussions there. And then 2 items in the future. June 16th, there's a Women's Veterans Resource event, 8:30 to 1:30 in the Convention Center. There's a luncheon also, but I'm told it's already sold out. But for women veterans who have often been marginalized or ignored, there's a resource event just for them at the Convention Center, June 16th. And then the last thing, I started sending emails out today to those that have expressed interest to me on the Bike and Pedestrian Committee. I also sent it to the board members in case somebody had talked to them. But what I would like to do is get all of the resumes and interest of those that want to be on that committee, and then I'll present those to the board for nomination and approval at our July 11th meeting. So deadline basically is July 11th. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Alderman Kinsey, you were out when we went through. Do you have anything under new business?
No, I don't.
Okay. A couple things. First of all, I'll commend the board for the process that we went through with the budget. As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, it's not easy. It's easier if you have more revenue than you do expenses, which is certainly not the case that we're in right now. But it's important that we continue to grow our city. As I mentioned at our last board meeting, the more new businesses and new residents that we have come add to our tax base, which helps spread that burden around. Just to comment on the process, Mr. Hughes, I personally would like to see the process handled a little differently next year. I know that depending on who has sat in your seat, there's always been a little bit different flavor. I'm speaking for me, and then the rest of the board can chime in if you feel differently, but I think we need to have a preliminary budget meeting probably in December I think would be a good idea for us to review how some of the revenues are coming in versus what's anticipated, as well as the expenditures, and get prepared earlier for the budget season. And then I would like to have the proposed budget in front of us so we have time to review that before we start our work sessions. It's a lot of information, I know, especially if this is the first time you've been through the process, to try to take all that information in while you're actually having a live meeting. So if we could get the proposed budget in advance of having the work sessions, I think we could all do a little bit of homework and those meetings could flow better. And then the last comment regarding that is typically or historically we have had a retreat each year, and that has sort of set the tone, or it's given staff at least some ideas directionally on where the board wants to go with different things, and then that would help you when you're crafting your budget before it gets presented to us. So that's some things that I wanted to mention. The next and last item I have is hard to believe, but it's time for the city manager's 6-month review again. Last time we did what we had historically done with a survey monkey that's sent out to the board. All those results get compiled, and then we will have a closed session at our next board meeting to review those. Is anyone opposed to that process or want to do something different? Okay.
I agree with that.
All right, I will work on getting that sent out to the board to gather your results. And if we don't feel like 2 weeks is enough time, then we can always do it the first meeting of July. But I know that's when we have petition of citizens, and historically sometimes those meetings last longer. So, do we need a closed session?
No, sir.
Anything else come before the board tonight? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.